All right, man, peace. So I saw a very interesting story on the CBS Morning News in regards to a young boy who was subjected to needless medical operations at the behest of his mother. When I saw this segment, I said to myself, this has to be another entry in the Black Man Guard Your Seed series. Once again, so-called black man, please pay very close attention to who you choose to procreate with. I always blame the so-called black man because you have to be held to a higher standard. The mental condition that this female is alleged to suffer from is something that should have been sniffed out by him had he taken his time in deciding whether or not he was going to inseminate her. Either way, the only victim is the child. So let's see what they have to say. Of course, I'm going to chime in.
A Dallas mother is in jail this morning accused of faking her 8-year-old son's multiple illnesses. A report obtained by the Fort Worth Star-Telegram revealed Christopher Bowen had more than 300 doctor visits and endured 13 major surgeries.
Now look at that. 13 major surgeries. 13. Not one, not two, 13. Every time anything is put under anesthesia or an anesthetic, there is a danger that that person will not wake up. This person, his quote unquote mother, put him through 13 unnecessary major surgeries. Now imagine the mental anguish that this boy had to suffer. Not even talking about the physical pain that he had to deal with healing from surgery.
His mother, Kayleen Bowen Wright, is now charged with injury to a child. Omar Villafranco is at Children's Medical Center in Dallas.
The bitch should have been charged with attempted murder.
He spoke to the boy's father. Omar, good morning.
Good morning. Soon after Christopher is born, his mother is accused of saying that he was sick with multiple illnesses, including cancer. But doctors at this hospital blew the whistle, and Child Protective Services found that the child had a feeding tube, was on oxygen, was even taking seizure medication, and he might not have needed any of it.
Now listen to all that. When I hear a story like this, not only is this a condemnation of the so-called mother, it's a condemnation of the so-called father, but mainly it's a condemnation of the so-called medical profession. You trusted the word of this female so much that it took 13 major operations to realize that the boy had nothing wrong. So that means, number one, you trusted the word of that female. Number two, you have no medical ethics. You don't have proper medical training. And number three, you're so thirsty for that fat paycheck from performing that medical operation that you're willing to cut that boy open 13 times unnecessarily. That is why, once again, this is why I gear my channel towards the so-called black man. And look, let me say this. There are many great mothers out there. There are many great so-called black mothers. There are many great so-called black fathers. But there is a major dereliction of duty and understanding that is going on in the mind of the so-called black man because he's not taking the proper precautions and utilizing the proper discernment in choosing these so-called women. This female had the nerve to talk about the multitude of illnesses that her son had. Well, she should start with herself because she clearly has a multitude of mental problems.
More than 300 doctor visits, 13 surgeries.
Yes.
Christopher Bowen's father, Ryan Crawford, says he has been trying to get custody of his son for the past 3 years. But Christopher's mother, Kayleen Bowen Wright, claimed her son was on his deathbed each time they were in court.
As soon as she would get on the stand to testify, each and every time, she would just start crying, basically saying he's in a coma.
Hey, brothers, haven't I told you numerous times that when the bugged out liberal female, when she's about to be held accountable for her actions, her deeds, or her intentions, she will start to cry because she knows that will get her sympathy. She knows that will help her escape any form of accountability. And she knows that it will provide her with the time she needs to try to recalibrate her agenda or her trickery, whatever that may be. Once again, I blame that brother. No disrespect. Just looking at his face, he looks simple as hell. He just does. He says that she got on the witness stand or under oath. She stated that his son was near death. So you mean to tell me that at no time did you accompany her with your son to the doctor's office to fully evaluate who the doctor was that was looking at your son? At no time did you say, I want to take my son to a doctor and find out what's really going on and find out if he really has any issues? I want to check this doctor's credentials or credibility. I need to see a copy of the medical report. None of that crossed your mind.
A local news report covered a fundraiser in 2014 for Christopher.
Christopher has trouble breathing.
To help
Yeah, he's having trouble breathing because you're smothering him with your bullshit.
pay for his alleged fight against a lung disease.
And also, let me say this. It is a major thing now with many of these liberal females to claim that their child is sick as a form of a Ponzi scheme to try to get people to send them money for nothing. Major hustle that many of these females are running. You saw the little half retarded looking Caucasian boy from Tennessee who claimed that he was being bullied. You saw the aftermath of that, right? Major Ponzi scheme. Many of these modern day females, because of the feminist propaganda that they have ingested, they've gone out and tried to make their own way that has failed. And now instead of working with the man that they're with, in this case, working with the man that she chose to have the child with, she's choosing to run a scam and use her young boy as a guinea pig. Very unfortunate.
Past few years, at least 2 other fundraisers were created for Christopher online. Were you worried that she may kill him?
I figured that one day that would be the end cause.
Child Protective Services says for 8 years, Bowen Wright put her son through a series of medical tests and surgeries. But staff at Dallas Children's Medical Center began to suspect Christopher wasn't really sick after a visit last month.
So you mean to tell me after 323 visits and 13 major operations, you just now starting to suspect that there's nothing wrong with him? I wonder why. Did that coincide with her not having enough money to pay for the operations anymore? Could that have been it?
They called CPS. An affidavit from the agency suggests doctors believe Bowen Wright may suffer from Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a mental illness where a caregiver fakes or creates an individual's symptoms for sympathy or attention.
Or maybe she just batshit crazy and she needs to be thrown into a loony bin. But you see how they always try to give many of these liberal females an excuse. She has Munchausen syndrome. Okay. Now let that have been a man who decided to use his child as a guinea pig, as some form of a conduit to take money from other people. This female should be on trial right now for defrauding the public who sent her that money with allegations or statements that her son was on his deathbed or was deathly ill or needed money. This woman should be in prison, period.
The fundraising, the doctor shopping, those are certainly common elements of our cases.
Matthew Gilbert is the Regional Director of Investigations for CPS.
And let me say this. Sometimes it's just a cry for help. I've come across many females in my life who always try to act like they were sick. A lot of times that's just a plea for attention. That's a way for them to, to try to feel like they're projecting energy that should force someone that they want to be closer to them, to say, I need you in my life, I need you to help me, I'm sick. And really it's just a projection of their mental disorder. Once again, many of these liberal women have mental problems, man. And you have to take your time in getting to know these females, getting to know how they really operate. I'm not going to try to put out any guesstimations, but if someone were to ask me how long he knew that woman before he got her pregnant, I would say no more than probably 8 to 10 months. For her to have an issue like that, so-called Munchausen syndrome, where she's going to put her son through 13 operations, it could also be a projection of how much she dislikes the child's father, that she just doesn't care about the child at all. And in her conscious mind, she's trying to act as if she does, but in her subconscious mind, she doesn't. You have people with that issue as well. They try to tell themselves consciously that they care about their child, but subconsciously, they wish that the child was dead. That's why you have these parents that give away their children into sex slavery or into the entertainment industry subconsciously knowing that it's not right to give their child over to grown men where they could potentially be raped or molested, adulterated. Once again, man, you have to use a lot of discernment.
Yes.
These investigations are very rare. They don't come up very often.
The 8-year-old and his siblings are in
Look at this boy. They got him looking like he's like he's some type of invalid. He can't breathe or he can't walk on his own. And it's really because he's most likely recovering from another surgery.
are in foster care. Christopher's father says his son now appears to be physically healthy.
Of course he is. He was always physically healthy. But when he's in an environment where the person is mentally diseased, it's going to have an effect on him. If you're always telling someone that something is wrong with them, they're going to start to believe it. And the mind can control the functionality of the body. I just hope that this brother, when I say this brother, I'm not talking about the child, I'm talking about the adult, that he finally takes on his role and assumes some type of custodial, a custodial role and duty over his son, which he's supposed to have, and hopefully he has something to teach him, and he can raise him in an upright manner, because in the formative years, for a boy to be subjected to that type of nonsense and that type of energy that can really hamper his ability to grow and mature in his later years. I mean, the father will probably see it as he grows up, if there's any aftermath of what went on. But I mean, that is traumatic, man. They go through 13 surgeries. That shit is crazy.
I am so sorry that I wasn't able to be there to stop the harm that has been done unto you.
We reached out to the mother's attorney, but have not heard back. And it's worth noting that CPS says people with Munchausen syndrome do go doctor shopping so they can avoid being caught. As for Ryan, he'll be in court next week.
All that is well and good, but when even if you're going doctor shopping, the first thing that the doctor is supposed to do, if the child has already been evaluated or already been checked for the alleged ailment, they're supposed to ask for the medical records from the previous hospital. I mean, you mean to tell me that she found 13 different doctors to perform major surgeries with no form of back checking in regards to medical visits in different institutions? All these hospitals keep track of the patient's social security number. You have medical record numbers, etc. Once again, this is an indictment of the medical field. There's no doubt about that.
Hoping to get custody of his son. John?
Omar, thanks. NASA is...
Even John shook his head like, I tell you, boy. But anyway, once again, brothers, please pay very close attention to the female that you're with, the woman that you choose to have a child with, and pay close attention to yourself first. If you're not ready to have a child, do not inseminate the woman, because you do have to be a guiding light for your child, period. But anyway, peace.